Hold on one second. We're about to get to the bottom of this, ladies and gentlemen. This don't make no sense whatsoever. Welcome to the Dark Waters channel, where we explore mysteries, figure out the truth, dive into politics, and anything else you want to know about. That's what we doing over here, baby. Let's go. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? The one and only James Williams, Dark Waters, and I'm back. And I've been trying to figure out what's going on with this Ben Shapiro guy and how it relates to Nick Fuentes. And I mean, it's obvious what's going on from the natural realm perspective. There's a battle for control over the younger conservative audience, right? Like there's a battle for who's going to dominate the hearts and minds of that audience. But what I didn't get was from the spiritual realm what it was that was happening. Because we discussed in previous videos that everything happens there and then it manifests here. We've discussed that there's patterns that are spiritual patterns that happen over and over and over again. There are spiritual personalities that make themselves manifest over and over and over again. But when I listen to Ben Shapiro, so I've listened to Nick Fuentes, and I've listened to Ben Shapiro, and using just the ear and eyes of discernment completely. You see, when I first listened to Nick, I said, there's an anointing on him. I don't know if it's demonic or whatever it is, but there's an anointing on that kid's tongue because he pulls you in. And I was like, I don't know. And then I said, okay, he seems as if the Lord has surrounded him with men that we know are good dudes to make sure he doesn't get steered off in the wrong direction. Now, he said some wild, crazy stuff. He used the N-word. He said all kind of crazy stuff, right? I'm not worried about that. That's not about the... Just because you said the N-word, it's not like I'm about to have a meltdown. Okay. But I'm looking at it and saying, this dude's got the largest following. He's getting the Alex Jones treatment. What's the deal? So then I go, and I never really paid attention to Ben Shapiro. I'm sorry, I never really have. And if you go back and look, you never see me say anything about Ben Shapiro. Because he never like strikes me as somebody I should listen to. But I go listen to him. And I start listening to him and Megyn Kelly. And I'm looking at him. And then I said, no, this is a spirit functioning through this man. So I'm saying, Lord, what's the spirit? What's this? And he said, that's the spirit of Absalom that fights revivals. There was a revival that started in this nation, and that spirit was released against this nation to stop my revival. It was released against me. And I thought about it, and I said, the revival was in the news. People getting baptized, this. And, the more it was in the public's eye, the more it was dominating social media, the more effective it was. Because social media is a platform by which spirits are transmitted. If you don't believe me, be careful who you watch. Because these computer screens are portals. Everybody be like, well, Dark Waters, did you see the TV show Black Mirror? Yeah, the Black Mirror, portals, computers are portals. No crap. You already know it's a portal because you can open up and look at me and see what I'm doing. What you don't understand is that spirit that's on me can attach to you, and the spirit that's on other people can attach to them. But nonetheless. So to cut off that revival or try to tamper down that revival, it was taken out of social media. What took it out of social media? It came out when this battle started over MEGA versus MAGA. And I want to tell you guys, this is not going to end good for Ben Shapiro. It's not going to end good for Ben Shapiro because now we understand why Nick Fuentes was given this moment in time. You see, Nick Fuentes is a special type of young Christian that's designed to go at the neck of this guy right here. He's built for this thing. Like Charlie was built for a certain thing to do. He had a certain assignment. Charlie went and did his assignment. Charlie was not really brash. He wasn't, Charlie was Charlie. This individual is a different watchman and a warrior in a different way. A little bit more crazy, a little bit more wild, still need to be refined. But you'll see that as of right now, people are calling for there to be a debate. All right, so let's start with this. Let's start with Myron. And then we'll go into what the spirit is.
And I encourage all the pro-Israel people, Ben Shapiro, sit down with Nick. Have a discussion if his ideas are so bad. Right? You want to go have a 40-minute video? Right? And take clips out of context, jokes, and say, oh, look, this guy's deplorable. He's evil. Isn't it interesting that people like Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro and Bill Ackman and all these other super pro-Israel people are going nuts, calling people critical of Israel Nazis, right? That's what they say. You guys are Nazis. What the fuck is Benjamin Netanyahu? What the fuck is he? You guys support a government that literally just killed tens of thousands of people in 4K. But you have the fault to sit here and tell us that we're Nazis? And that's what I'm telling you guys. Don't let these pieces of shit try to sit there and gaslight you. Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, all these guys, these pro-Israel commentators and political and analysts and newscasters, whatever the fuck may be. If you guys are so sure that our position is wrong, debate, have a discussion. Let your ideas do the talking for you. But the reality is this, you might want debate. That's why you guys went nuts when Dave Smith embarrassed dumbass Josh Hammer at Turning Point USA. Back in July, I saw it. I witnessed it. That's why they freaked out. We're going to pull money from Turning Point USA. He platformed Dave Smith, who's Jewish, by the way, and totally embarrassed Josh Hammer. If our ideas are so destructive, why don't you guys go ahead and debate us and prove us wrong? Ben Shapiro, debate Nick. We'd all love to see it. It'd be the biggest debate in forever. Defend your ideas. It's not going to hurt you at this point. He's bigger than you. I don't want to hear no excuses. It's more relevant than you are. Debate him.
And it's wild. I'm glad I was shown this. All right, so here's Myron. Now, I'm sorry for Myron's language. Myron's a wild dude. But you see that raw, uncut, filtered resistance? Look at them eyes right there. This is a different generation that's been raised up to deal with this issue. They're more lions than my generation has ever been. Now watch this. Let's look at the spirit of Absalom itself. And to do this, I'm going to use Daniel Adams' explanation of the spirit of Absalom. And then I encourage you to go. Hopefully Daniel Adams won't have a problem with this. Hopefully it won't be some copyright type stuff. I doubt it. But YouTube automatically flags stuff. But we're gonna try and use it the right way for so there won't be any issues. But this is a man of God that I've seen, I've watched. He's verified a man of God. It's not like he's some fraud. You know what I'm saying? The dude is legit. But more importantly,
the Absalom spirit.
More importantly, I need you to see what this spirit is. In fact, it's better for me to do it this way. Let me just read his presentation. That way there won't be no chances. The Absalom spirit. 5 ways the Absalom spirit attacks believers. Manipulation to deception. The Absalom spirit might manipulate individuals into believing lies, causing confusion and division. It's similar to how Absalom turned the hearts of the people of Israel against his father. Now watch this. Let me put it in all context. Who technically is the father of Turning Point USA? The father of Turning Point USA is and was Charlie Kirk. Now, when Charlie Kirk was here, Ben Shapiro vehemently attacked Charlie Kirk. Completely and totally vehemently attacked him. Candace Owens talks about this. All these younger guys who really are aware of this, they talk about this, right? Number 2, undermine authority. The spirit seeks to undermine established leadership and authority structures. Absalom's rebellion against King David is a prime example. So Absalom rebelled against King David. Now this is different because, you see, the one who established Turning Point USA was murdered. It's gone, right? And in his absence, we have this manipulation and deception. And it's clearly happening. Let me stop. Let me pause. Let me go on over to this.
What Candace Owens is doing right now is evil. It is evil what she is doing right now. Okay, and I say that again.
But what?
Because
like I didn't opine on whether it's evil or not. But my position is it's really none of my business. And
why is it? But I have a question. Why is it none of your business? I mean, you comment on these things for a living.
I'm not mother of the internet.
No, but if this were on the left and somebody were accusing Charlie Kirk of his wife having murdered him, I assume that you would be talking about it.
Is that what Candace is accusing Erica of?
Yes.
Of murdering her own husband?
She's accusing TPUSA insiders and other members of the right wing, including Seth Dillon, of being involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk. Yes.
Okay. like I said, I don't take in that content, which is an honest statement. I don't have time to watch
No,
Canada's show.
I believe you. I believe you. But the point that I'm making is that
what I
that
understand
friendship
Candace
should
to
not,
have
in
been
our
doing.
business, I think it's important. Listen,
No, and Candace
friendship
and I are
should not
friends.
trump.
We don't even know each other.
I understand, but even with Tucker, friendship should not trump our manifest requirement to speak out when people do and say things that are both detrimental to conservatism and morally wrong.
Okay, so I don't totally disagree, but I think the way of handling that, at least for me, is much different. So I saw things go south between you and Tucker.
Manipulation. That is pure manipulation. The first target is Candace Owens. Megan says, I don't really watch Candace Owens. And I can believe her. Because she probably don't have time. She's like, I don't have time. I didn't have time to keep up with this. That's why I started asking you guys and doing videos on Nick. And I was like, this don't make no sense. And the closer I looked into it, it's like, oh, I'm starting to see it now. Right? But it's rising to the point to where attention has to be turned to it. So the first manipulation is against Candace Owens. The second manipulation is against Tucker Carlson. Those are manipulations. But why? What's the reason for the manipulation? The reason is because he wants to be the voice. It's clear he wants to be the voice. And then how do we know this? Because when you scan a cross section of people, and you see all them saying the exact same thing about one person, then you know there's truth to it. And these are all people of influence. None of these people are necessarily lower than Ben Shapiro in any way, shape, or form. So, for example, I wouldn't take the word of a person who had a 5,000 subscriber YouTube channel and they were talking crazy about Ben Shapiro. I just wouldn't take it because that's them punching upwards, right? When everybody's on the same platform level, everybody's at the same height of the mountain, and everybody's punching at you, then you done did something wrong. Punching up is what people do to get popularity. On the equal platforms, arguing and fighting costs money, time, and energy, and so therefore there's a problem there. So let's go to Owen Schroyer. Owen is another manifestation of this. And I don't like what happened between Owen Schroyer and Alex Jones, but I understand what happened to Owen Schroyer when he was locked up. He felt betrayed. His heart got darkened. He was going through a test from the Lord, and there was an exaltation coming. And my man just, Owen went the other way. He went the other way. That doesn't mean that he won't be useful. It just means that that original destiny that was there is delayed for whatever reason. So Owen's got to go through a cycle of what he's got to go through. That's how life is for us as individuals. You'll be on a trajectory, you'll be on a path, you'll get a season of testing. His testing was ridiculous. I mean, the kid's testing was ridiculous. And I call him kid, I don't mean in a disrespectful manner, but his kid's testing was ridiculous. You went to Congress, you went to Senate, you stood up for the nation, you were bold, you were out there with a bullhorn, you did everything to stand up for liberty, for justice, and they arrested you, and they probably put him in isolation cells. And then when you come out, you're expecting that the president of the United States will pardon you, but he didn't pardon you. You're thinking that he will stand up for you, and he doesn't stand up for you. That will darken a man's heart. But the truth of the matter is, the president of the United States is not your source. The Lord is. And it is what it is. So the man's heart got darkened. And so now he's on a different path. He's still telling the truth. And he's actually being the same Owen Schroyer, funny, entertaining as ever. But this group in this age group, they are contending against Absalom. That's what you're seeing. They're contending against the spirit of Absalom. That's what they're doing. And so you got Ben Shapiro, which is a manifestation of it for their age group. Then you had what Netanyahu did in him using this other, somebody will mention the guy's name, but he's a Republican individual that's running for office, that everybody's like, oh, we need to support him. That's a version for my age group. And then all the people coming out saying, if you don't do this, being divisive, being manipulative, all of them have come into agreement and are functioning in the same spirit.
No. It's not hitting right. It's not hitting right, guys. Hold on a second. It's not. Ah. Ah. There it is. Now we're feeling it. I've been moved. I've been moved. My spirit has been moved. I get it now. Like Fox News told me last night, it's my duty to serve Israel. Like we just learned from Kanye West. I'm very inspired by Kanye West. I'm very inspired by Republican Party loyalty to a foreign country. I'm very inspired by the new woke right MAGA. They were right. It's all about Israel. I can't believe I missed it. So I'm with you now. Now our ratings will go up. Our numbers will go up. And you can deposit that 7K right into the bank account, baby. Let's go.
I'm just going to keep it real with you guys. This is a battle that I'm going to keep my eyes on. Because this is the battle of two different kingdoms. It really is. Each and every one of these young men are Christians. Various different personalities. Various different anointings. And I don't know that Ben Shapiro can stand up to this. I don't think he can. This only works if everybody backs down. And these kids not backing down. They're just not. And here's Nick Fuentes spazzing out about it.
And I think the whole country is sick of Ben Shapiro. I think the entire United States of America has had it right up to about here with Ben Shapiro. We've had it up to here with you, little guy. I think we're all ready for Ben Shapiro to go back home to Israel. Am I right? One's in the chat of Ben Shapiro should be denaturalized and deported to Israel. Can we get that trending? Can we get that going? This little guy has got to go home. Little man, it's time for you to go home to Israel. We don't want you here. He goes around saying, I need security everywhere I go because everyone hates me. Well, go live in Israel. You'll be greeted like a hero. It will be a hero's welcome when you return to Israel. They'll play trumpets in the streets. You'll have all of the matzo ball soup, whatever that you want. Get out. Fake American. Ben Shapiro is not American. Can we just get that straight? You have forfeited your right to call yourself American. You're not one. You don't care about America. You don't care about Americans. You're not America first. He said in an interview once, the number one guarantor of my loyalty to the United States is Israel. Go there. Go there then. Go home. What's stopping you? Just don't come back next time. Next time you're in Israel hanging out with the war criminal. Next time you're over there hanging out and jacking off the war criminal. Just stay. You and your Jewish wife and Israeli kids. I think she's Moroccan, actually. I don't think she's Israeli, but I think she's like Moroccan Jewish. Just stay there next time. Seriously, out of here. This is the United States. Anyway, so we'll talk about little Ben.
Guys, I'm just saying, it's the spirit of Absalom. And there's a rising up against this spirit. It's obvious. But let's go back to the spirit of Absalom. So, undermining authority. Let's go a little bit further. And I would let this play, but I don't want the copyright. Breeding dissatisfaction and discontent. Everything you see going on since the revival after Charlie Kirk, this whole movement where it was, okay, we got to take over MAGA, has done all these things, breeding dissatisfaction and discontent. The Absalom spirit can cause dissatisfaction with leaders or circumstances, leading to unrest and rebellion. This mirrors Absalom's action when he capitalized on people's dissatisfaction with David's rule. Have you noticed that we came through the time period of the Epstein files, right? Epstein, silence. It kind of died off. Then we go through the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And we go from that to, okay, we need to figure out who assassinated Charlie Kirk. Then we go into the revival. Well, the two major issues was the revival in the nation and who the hell whacked Charlie Kirk. Then we come out with the FBI and they're like, oh, we're gonna try the guy in private. And then we go through the conspiracy laid things of, multiple people dressed like the shooter. The guy's making a distraction. Cash Patel talking about going in and fussing at what's her name? The director of national security, Tulsi Gabbard, and saying, oh, you need to leave the investigation up to us. And then they're having a closed door session where no cameras are allowed in the trial to figure out what happened to Charlie Kirk. And then we come out of that, and then we get hit with this boom. Anti-Semitism. And then that just, it was like somebody took a shotgun with bird shot and just started shooting. Everybody got pepper sprayed with that. And so discontent just skyrocketed with MAGA. To the point now where there's dissension, where it's saying, hey, you guys are more MEGA than MAGA. Absalom spirit. Watch. Promoting illegitimate claims to leadership. Absalom spirit might encourage individuals to seek positions of authority they are not entitled to. Absalom, despite not being the rightful heir, tried to usurp his father's throne. The overall usurping of the Republican Party is what you're seeing. But you're seeing the battles playing out it's fight being fought at this lower level with people like Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes and Myron and there's this other guy, kind of goofy looking dude. He's real popular, but he kind of got teeth like a rabbit. I forgot his name. He just recently called for Ben Shapiro to debate Nick Fuentes. And then we saw yesterday where Patrick Bet-David was like, hey, listen, we had Nick Fuentes on and I held him accountable. We had a conversation. And then Ben Shapiro canceled and said he wasn't coming because you platformed Nick Fuentes. And so you see this, in order to say you can't be in my presence unless you do what I say you should do, that means you have claimed leadership in some way, shape, or form. And it's illegitimate. Oh, if you don't say this, then I am royalty. If you don't do what I say do, then you can't be in my presence. That's an illegitimate claim to leadership. It really is. And then now he's on Turning Point USA. It's an illegitimate claim to leadership. Fostering resentment and revenge. The spirit can lead to individuals to harbor resentment and seek revenge, much like Absalom avenged his sister Tamar by killing her half-brother Amon. Now, honestly, everybody that I've seen talk about this young man, Ben Shapiro, has even said, no, this dude is notorious for being vengeful and spiteful. And they've highlighted this over and over and over and over again. And see, when I look at him, and like Mark Levin, this is a perfect example of Mark Levin is the older version of him. But it's a spirit that has been revealed and released on this nation. And it's a spiritual issue. And it's mighty funny. That's the perfect example. One assigned to attack Charlie Kirk and his legacy. One to attack Tucker Carlson and his legacy. One to go after this position of authority, Charlie Kirk. Another one to replace this position of authority, which is Tucker Carlson. And you know it to be so because there was this push to say, well, J.D. Vance shouldn't associate with Tucker Carlson because Tucker Carlson talked to Nick Fuentes. Now, here's the craziest thing. If Charlie Kirk was here and Charlie Kirk had a conversation with Nick Fuentes, let's say the two of them was beefing out, but they had a debate, which I don't believe they did. Would Nick Fuentes be used to attack Charlie Kirk? Based upon his pattern, he would be. Nick Fuentes was used to attack Alex Jones. He was used to attack Candace Owens. He's been used to attack Tucker Carlson. He's been used to attack anybody else who had a conversation with him. Why? Because he's a threat to the spirit of Absalom. He's a threat because there's a battle over a throne. That throne that was vacated by the murder of Charlie Kirk, the battle is ensued. The battle is ensued for whose voice is going to be the loudest voice that the youth hear. That's what we're witnessing. That's what we're seeing. And what I thought was extremely interesting, hold on, is when you get here,
The fact
this is how prevalent it is. Let's start with Candace.
One, I do believe that he is actually scared of Nick Fuentes, okay? I think that fear comes from guilt. Nick's backstory, don't care what you think about him, you already know I don't like Nick Fuentes because of how he treated me. But the backstory is compelling. I learned the backstory listening to Jeremy Boring, the former CEO of Daily Wire, sit down with Nick. So I was right after I'd been fired, and I didn't know what Ben and Jeremy admitted that they did to him. And so I think if you artificially push somebody out of the market, and Ben has never come out and denied anything that Nick Fuentes has said. Also, Jeremy Boring didn't deny it in a conversation with him. So we have to assume the story is true. And given what I know about what happens now, I think, and what Charlie was going through, I think we can all realize that Nick was an 18-year-old kid, like he told Tucker, and now the whole world knows this story. He started asking questions about Israel, and he got artificially pushed out of the market when he had his whole life ahead of him, okay? And now, when they did this because they wanted to rid themselves of Nick Fuentes, who then became angry about it and definitively has said very offensive things on the internet, but also he was 18, 19 years old. Now you see him on Tucker Carlson. You don't like Tucker Carlson. And I think it makes him uncomfortable. I think we're in Harry Potter, right? And Lord Voldemort thought he killed the baby, and the baby may be lit. I don't even know who the Dark Lord is in this story, but I do know. I don't even know who he who must not be named is in this story, but I do know that with Ben and Nick Fuentes, it's kind of a neither can live while the other survives, and Nick Fuentes seems to have survived, okay? Without advertisers, without sponsors, without connections, with the entire media writing things about him, being put on the ADL's list, he has proven to be quite resilient. And it is in large part due to how hard they fight him that people become curious. It's like, we're watching kids be bombed. Like, how many people have lost their lives in Gaza? And you're telling me the greatest evil is Nick Fuentes? I'm sorry. I think I can survive Nick Fuentes insulting me. I don't feel the need to wheel and deal behind the scenes or, tell Tucker not to host him. I just don't care. It's just really not my business. I'm like Megan. I just don't care. Like, okay, if somebody wants to be a fan, they can be a fan of Nick Fuentes. And I sense an insecurity here in the fact that 10 years on from when Ben had this.
My beautiful sister, what you're sensing is the spirit at work. And that just confirms what we've been talking about. That's what confirms what we've been talking about. I said, we just talked about the spirit being resentful. Let me go back. Fostering resentment and revenge. Spirit can lead to individuals to harbor resentment and seek revenge, much like Absalom avenged his sister. So, Candace just explained it. The dude went at Nick when he was young. And cool. Nick said wild stuff. All right, we all say wild stuff, man. If there was the internet when I was 18, then you wouldn't be listening to me because I said way more wild stuff than any of you will ever imagine. If there was social media when I was younger, you'd be like, this dude is the devil himself. But okay, cool. Got it. Men grow up, men change. And the Nick Fuentes today won't be the same Nick Fuentes 20 years from now. Just like when he was talking about J.D. Vance, I said men change. And Nick, you just too young to realize this, that, the J.D. Vance 20 years ago is not the J.D. Vance of today. That's a maturity, understanding, growth issue. But the point I'm making is this. It's clear he had the guy deplatformed. And it's clear the guy survived. But that kid went through that persecution for a reason. And so here he comes. And he coming running like a young lion. And I don't see him stopping. And I don't see Ben Shapiro beating him. I see the whole system only making him even more popular. And Nick Fuentes, the moment comes when Nick Fuentes challenges him to a debate over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, when Nick Fuentes starts to pursue him, literally start showing up where he is and say, hey man, when you gonna debate me? When you gonna debate me? Let's talk. When you gonna debate me? Is when Ben Shapiro is gonna be dethroned. It's really that simple. There has to be a confrontation. You're gonna see people constantly calling for a debate. They're gonna be calling Ben Shapiro a coward, which is exactly what Candace just did. Because that's the problem with Absalom. If you go back and read the story of Absalom, he wanted to do all these manipulations in private. You have to confront that spirit. So now here comes the confrontation. And the craziest thing is, because of the way it's being done, the mass push behind Ben Shapiro and the mass, like, oh, this guy's bad and anybody associated with him is bad. Now the pushback is even more massive. And it's going to be even more massive. How do you know? Because here you go.
The fact that Jews think they got that much damn gravitas to where I need to be reprogrammed and sit down with one of them rabbis, you and your rabbi. I gotta sit down and have this I've never met program me bullshit. I don't know you. And then we sit down like kids listening to this Mox and Bagel eating and tell us about his religion. And I'm supposed to just, oh, you're right. It's a boss. I'm sorry, boss. Sorry I said something, boss. So I didn't really say anything, but I got too close. Sorry, boss. You want to talk about white people. Jews want to talk about what white people can do. White people don't have your black ass sitting down begging. Y'all don't hear me? When's the last time a white person had your black ass somewhere begging and asking for forgiveness? When the last time your ass had to learn something about Christopher Columbus? Had to learn something about Queen Elizabeth? When the last time your black ass had to learn something about Andrew Jackson? When the last time your black ass had to be forced to sit down by some white man to listen about his and his damn Christianity and his damn Catholicism? When the last time a white man was able to punk your black ass like that because you said something about them, because you called them an animal, because you called them the devil, because you call them anything? You want to sit up there and have Jews tell you about how bad white people are, but they the ones that got your head begging and shit. Who's your real master, black folks? Who your real master? You got Jews telling you how bad whites are, but whites don't have as much power as Jews. Have you noticed they get mad when you make jokes about Jews being good with money? Why are they upset about being good with money? That makes no sense. Until you look at the context of it, that a lot of countries, they were kicked out because of how they handled money. What is the greatest trick that the devil played on man? That he didn't exist.
It's all over the place. This is the confrontation against the spirit of Absalom. Now I'm going to edit some of the stuff because he just wilded out. I mean, he completely just freaking wild out there. He just went crazy. I'm going to take a lot of curse words out of there because YouTube will be like, oh, we're going to ban you because you said something bad about Jewish people. They'll do it. But the point I'm making is it's the spirit of Absalom. And now people are rejecting that spirit. And it's why there's this contention in this realm, because people are fighting against the spirit. They're fighting against the spirit. This is going to be entertaining. But this is a battle. There's two generations fighting this battle. There's a generation that's influencers that's of the age of Tucker, and then there's this younger generation that is fighting for the throne as to who's going to rise in the ranks to replace the Alex Jones and the Tucker Carlson and the other influencers. So there's two simultaneous battles going on. And so what it is, it's a battle for multiple generations all at once. Because when you get Alex Jones has been on air for 20 years. Tucker Carlson has been on air for over 20 years. So you have multiple generations of people that grew up listening to them. And so they planted seeds in multiple generations, right? And so Nick Fuentes is 18, 19, 20 years old. I don't know. Candace Owens is a certain age. They have another 20 years ahead of them of sowing seeds. And so people say, no. We need to cut the fruit off of that right now. We need to cut the fruit off of that right now before it gets too far. All right, ladies and gentlemen, one only James Williams, Dark Waters. I'm out.